In today's news, Joint Task Force receives equipment to enhance our border patrol, and JetBlue identifies new Caribbean market.
As well as launch of payment of COVID-19, micro, small, and medium businesses are finally coming to fruition. This and more when 284 News returns.
Yes. You want top of power?
You want top of power?
Join the prepaid party with CCT and enjoy more affordable data plans, more top-up promotions, more savings with hero bundles, and more value for your money each and every Tuesday with Top Up Turn Up Tuesday. Visit a CCT store today or anywhere CCT Top Up is sold and top up your phone.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. You want top of power?
Welcome everybody, a pleasant evening to each and every one of you. It's Tuesday, September 15th, 2020. I'm Ron Grant.
And my name is Javon Wilson, coming to you from the beautiful British Virgin Islands, of course, for another great edition of 284 News. Now, Ron, we want to begin today with a sobering reflection on where we were just about 3 years ago on this very day. Just today, journalist, of course, Mr. Dean Greenaway, we all know him. He really took us back to the floods by way of his post, as you can see the photo on the screen, and really speaking to the devastation that made its way to us back in 2017. And Ron, we know how trying of a time that was for the BVI. But even as we fast forward to today, it would be remiss of us not to give thanks for, one, our resilience, for our recovery, and as well our willingness to move forward. And I think as a territory, we have really progressed in so many different ways. And so today we just want to begin this newscast, by being grateful, Ron.
I agree, we've come a long way. And one of the things that I want to reiterate about those events, the floods began, and then it was, the hurricanes as well. So we have a lot to be thankful for. Absolutely.
We also see strengthened efforts to enhance border patrol in the BVI. The Governor Jaspard, is putting his foot to the gas and really working along with the joint task force that has been put together by government to ensure that we protect our borders. The governor is now supplying them with some much needed equipment. And of course, those details we'll be getting into today. But Ron, today we're also celebrating our very own Miss Kyla Kenesha Forbes. Yeah. Today is her birthday.
Happy birthday, Kyla.
Of course, we're celebrating in slightly different circumstances, but nevertheless, we are really grateful for who Kyla is and the invaluable addition that she brings to the team. Incredibly warm.
A very lovely colleague. Yes.
Absolutely refreshing and just super beautiful person. So we want to wish her a happy, happy birthday.
Indeed. Continuing on our news summary, lots going on as it pertains to the BVI labor and immigration scene. We've reached out to the Minister of Labor for comments, and we're going to get into that as it pertains to all that's happening with labor and immigration. Pathlyan Johnson, she was appointed as a Community Liaison Officer at the RDA. We're going to get into that as well. And the long-awaited launch of payment of COVID-19 Micro, Small, and Business Enterprises program finally has come to fruition. A lot of business owners are very thankful, and there's some measures that we're going to talk about as it pertains to making sure that they're in place and receiving their various payments. So we're going to get right into that. Beginning on our local scene, the Virgin Islands Recovery and Development Agency has announced the appointment of Ms. Pathlyan Johnson as the Community Liaison Officer for the period of 1 year, effective August 17th. Now, Ms. Johnson's responsibilities will include engaging stakeholders as the project planning, design, implementation, and evaluation stages, ensuring that the community is engaged during all levels of the project cycle, and also ensuring that all concerns and suggestions are integrated with practical responses during the project delivery. Now, Ms. Johnson brings a wealth of experience to this assessment, and she was the strategy and policy advisor with the Disaster Recovery Coordinating Committee, involving and ensuring that the feedback from the community was integral part of the recovery and development of plan following Hurricanes Irma and Maria. Now, the Community Liaison Officer will also oversee the implementation of the grievance redress system, which will ensure the voices of individuals and communities are heard in the planning and delivery projects. Another key responsibility is the establishment of a code of conduct for contractors, which will provide oversight for the engagement of contractors in executing of recovery and projects in the Virgin Islands. Ms. Johnson holds a Master of Science in Economic and Finance from the University of Bristol and a Bachelor of Science in Economics from the University of the West Indies Cave Hill campus. Now, the RDA, for those who may not be aware, is pleased to welcome Ms. Johnson to the team as the agency works in close collaboration with the government of the Virgin Islands to execute recovery projects. Jovan, we see where someone who is quite skilled in her expertise is now coming to the forefront. And one of the things that I like about this new post is that she seems to really be the person who is the bridge gapper between the community, and not only the community but the actual workers who are executing contracts as the RDA representative. And I think it's fitting, and we would like to congratulate her in her endeavors and wish, of course, the RDA their very best as they continue their duties.
Absolutely, Ron. And she's absolutely gorgeous.
Indeed.
Let's begin with that. But I really like what you said. One of the things this government has been pushing for, of course, the Andrew Foy-led government, is the inclusion of locals within the process and revising a lot of the policies within the RDA to ensure that opportunities are being afforded to locals. Now, she essentially will become the voice of that community, like you said, bridging the gap between local contractors and kind of providing a framework as to what they'll be guided by.
And
so
she's
really
going to be
happy
on the
see.
ground just talking to them
Yes.
and interacting with them, and I think that's a great opportunity.
And I think she's just going to serve the territory well. So we want to wish her all the best, and by extension, the RDA. Now, coming out of GIS, the Joint Task Force will be receiving a donation of critical maritime security equipment today from the Governor's Office in support of its work to protect the territory's borders. Now, the first package arrived in the territory and contains maritime binoculars and life preservers. This will be shortly followed by shipments which contain state-of-the-art night vision goggles as well as GPS devices. His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Augustus Jaspert, said that this support means more law enforcement officers will be able to conduct marine patrols where they will be equipped with the latest technology to spot and deter illegal entries into the BVI. This will help to protect against the spread of COVID-19 as well as safeguard public health. Now, the Governor said, and I quote, "The Joint Task Force has been working extremely hard to patrol our extensive land and sea borders. This new equipment will extend their efforts and capabilities even more. It's imperative that we do everything we can to protect the integrity of our borders and the safety of the people of the BVI," end of quote. Now, viewers, Acting Commissioner of Police, Mr. Alwyn James, also said that he welcomes the additional equipment. He said, and I quote, "It is much needed equipment that will provide for the safety of officers and enhance the ability of the team to do the job more effectively, especially in the COVID-19 era of protecting our borders and our communities," end of quote. Now, the maritime security equipment will be transferred to the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force and the Customs Marine team after the Joint Task Force no longer requires it. In addition to that, the United Kingdom has also funded essential equipment for the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force's main sea vessel, that is St. Ursula, to get it back on the water and knit it out with high specification navigation equipment. The Governor said that this will increase both the agency's long-term capacity to tackle crime activity at sea. Now, the Joint Task Force is a collaboration between officers of the Immigration Department, Her Majesty's Customs, and the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force. This task force was developed in response to COVID-19 to maintain the security and integrity of the territory's borders and to provide effective enforcement of curfew requirements while giving visible reassurance to communities. The Governor's Office is committed to ensuring that law enforcement officers have the support they need to secure the territory's borders and, of course, again, keep the people of the BVI safe. Now, Ron, I know we have been really talking about border control, especially within the last few weeks to a few months.
Topic,
and it's really at the top of our conversations because it's of high concern to the territory as we try to grapple with the effects of COVID-19, flatten the curve, lower those numbers within the BVI, but also to ensure that we are not retarding our efforts by the efforts of persons to be smuggled into the territory. We know the Governor as leader of security within the territory. We see him and his office doing what they must to ensure that the Joint Task Force has what they need.
Jovan, a very interesting point that I want to highlight as it pertains to the issue of border security. I'm very happy that we're receiving assistance in different equipment, but I'm surprised to see it's not beginning to speak about on a local level the issue and the lack of satellite security. It is one that has been used across the region, and because we have such a vast amount of waters in the BVI, it's almost, and I know it's costly, don't get me wrong, the statistics show that it's very costly, but it's almost, I wonder why we haven't ventured into that aspect. Satellite security that would allow us versus having a badge in the waters. I think it's something that we should perhaps consider moving forward. I think it's definitely of paramount importance.
Absolutely, Ron. You know, that's one of the questions we posed to the governor within our interviews, because it was requested not just by this government, enhanced security, but previous governments would have requested very specifically satellite support, like you said, because one of the things we also hear persons calling for is Coast Guard service as opposed to the UK Navy being here, which might not necessarily be the most effective way to control what's happening with our borders at this time. So satellite security is needed, and we did ask the governor at the time. He did mention that, you know, efforts and conversations are being made to enhance security, but not necessarily speaking directly to that. And one of the concerns we had too, in addition to that, is the fact that similar support is being provided for other British overseas territories.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we want to, you know, we want to ensure that equal efforts are being extended to the BVI.
Before we move on, that conversation is quite important because we see where a lot of the overseas territories are seemingly receiving different assistance versus others, and we wonder sometimes if it's a conversation of whether we're asking for that assistance or whether or not we're ready to receive. Now that's a story that we're going to continue on, but we definitely want to cover that as well.
Absolutely, viewers, there's lots more coming after this commercial break. We have the micro, small, and medium enterprises. That grant is now available for persons to access under the government's COVID-19 stimulus program. Plus, if you're still yet to apply, there is a new deadline. It's quickly approaching. And we do know there are many questions. So stick with us for all the details on that and so much more when 284 News returns.
Brilliant Hands and Minds Tutoring Services, one-on-one tutorials in math and English, intense homework assistance, academic enrichment, school projects, effective communication and public speaking development, sign language for adults and children on Saturdays only. Registered with the Virgin Islands High School Certificate Program, Brilliant Hands and Minds can help you too. Offering intense curriculum-based training to help you or your loved ones get their high school diploma. It's time to make your family's education a #1 priority. Hurry, space is limited. Brilliant Hands and Minds Learning Center. We are the trained education professionals.
Viewers, welcome back. You're watching 284 News. On to a very important story. Business owners all across the territory of the Virgin Islands are breathing a sigh of release. Yesterday, September 14, 2020, in a press conference, Junior Minister for Trade and Economic Development, the Honorable Shireen Flax Charles, alongside Premier, the Honorable Andrew A. Foy, and other officials, launched the payment of the COVID-19 Small Business and Stimulus Grant, as well as the UNDP grant. Now, before we get into the details of the payment and the process of which for business applicants, on July 17, 2020, Cabinet approved the Small Business Sector Grant Program in the amount of $6,500,000. Now, the grant is being funded through a grant from the BVI Social Security Board. Now, to facilitate the design and implementation of the program, Cabinet also decided that a committee be established consisting of representatives from the Premier's office, with the chairman being the Leader of Government Business, the Honorable Andrew A. Foy, as well as the Ministry of Finance and the Department of Trade and Consumer Affairs, as well as investment promotions. Now, the first task of the committee was to develop the policy guidelines along with developing the appropriate application mechanism through which the grant program is being administered effectively. Now, this process began by determining the estimated number of micro, small, and medium enterprises that were affected by COVID-19, who could potentially apply to the program, as well as by examining information on the numbers of non-operational businesses with less activity after the soft reopening. Now, the number of estimated businesses at some 2,717 micro, small, and medium enterprises, which was obtained by subtracting the estimated number of non-operational businesses from the total businesses and the experience less activity as a result of the total number of businesses.
Yes. Ron, we also know back in July, I think on July 21st, 2020, that was the launch of the initiation of the program via, of course, it was done virtually via the website, but throughout the past several months, we've seen public education campaigns taking place, including the Pier Park businesses, the BVI Chamber of Commerce and Hotel Association, where committee members were able to provide further information and bring clarity to the application process. I think the application process for many of the grants have come with a lot of question marks. So it's very important that that clarity was made available for our business owners. Additional funds as well have been allocated toward the program, which has allowed for an extension of the application process to tomorrow, that is Wednesday the 16th, 2020. Ms. Kyria Christopher has asked very politely, do not come to us after that time. We want to allow for a smooth process. So persons now have up until tomorrow, again, that is Wednesday, September 16th,
Yes.
to essentially allow more businesses the opportunity to apply, Ron. Now, these new applications can only be based on whatever funds are left. So persons who did not meet the original deadline, for whatever reason, will still be able to apply for business assistance. Additionally, the United Nations Development COVID-19 Grant Program, like you mentioned, to assist the micro, small, and medium enterprises, specifically in the food and services sector, including restaurants, cafes, and food vans, received a total of $40,000 extra. Now, this is in addition to the $6.5 million that you mentioned initially. Now, this partnership with the United Nations Development Agency is of huge assistance, again, to the hospitality assistance. I know, Ron, the hospitality industry has truly faced economic fallout, really, because they're really, with the borders closed and tourists not visiting the island, there's been a lot of financial constraint. So this grant focuses on lost revenue, assisting in the retention of employees, which we've been trying to do throughout the BVI and across the world, really trying to assist our businesses to ensure that they can retain their employees, to ensure that persons can essentially take care of themselves, and by default stimulating the economic recovery throughout the territory of the Virgin Islands.
Absolutely. Now, speaking on government's payment launch at the ceremony yesterday was also leader of the government business, the Honorable Andrew A. Foy. Now, he outlined in detail exactly how the funds have been allocated by district and stated that business owners in the 4th District have been awarded more than $1.5 million from the government's Small Business Sector Grant Reform Project, of course, because it essentially is the capital of the Virgin Islands. Now, this is the highest total value of grants of all in the 9 districts. The Honorable Minister of Finance, Andrew Foy, also shared specific figures in the territory of persons benefiting from that $6.5 million program. It was stated that the names of the businesses could not be released, which we understand, of course, because of security purposes.
Right.
However, a total of 1,039 businesses were approved at a total value of $6,183,889. Now, the breakdown, viewers, is as follows. District 1, 68 businesses. That's a total of $399,290. District 2, 102 businesses at a total of $598,114. District 3, 91 businesses total with a total of $828,000. Sorry, I'm going to repeat that. $548,825. We have District 4 with a total of 280 businesses coming in at $1,665,565, as well as the 5th District with 68 businesses. They're coming in at $404,063, and District 6 with a total of 113 businesses benefiting. They're coming in at $644,273. District 7, 59 businesses, which comes in at a total of $354,000. $100,000, 748. District 8, 90 businesses, 518,600 businesses. And District 9, we have 1,000,000, $5 and 384 businesses. Jovan, essentially where we're seeing where the breakdown, and of course that is available via our website, all districts, businesses within the district have been able to essentially benefit from this program. We see the breakdown of number of businesses as well as the figures, and I think business owners across the territory are essentially grateful.
Absolutely. We have just about $300,000 based on the amount presented. It's almost 6.2 that was already allocated. Again, persons still have the opportunity. If you're yet to apply, that deadline is tomorrow. Now, one of the things we want to mention about the application process, Ms. Kyria Christopher clarifying that this time around, persons will not be allowed to apply online. You must go into the department to pick up your physical application. Forms, fill it out, and of course submit it to be eligible for the grant. It was also noted by the Director of Trade, Ms. Christopher, that banking information is needed for some approved applicants, and she was really reassuring persons that the emails they received requesting the banking information is authentic, and that this information is necessary in the processing of the application and will be kept with the strictest confidence. Now, in explaining the need for banking information, the Trade Director said, and I quote, "If I, Kyria Christopher, for example, had a trade license for Real Talk, we would assume that my account would be in Real Talk. However, we have recognized very early that this has not been the case. So if we wrote a check for Real Talk, obviously it would not be valid for the bank because there's no account for that particular name. So we have further contacted individuals and said, please confirm that you have a bank account in your business name. Now, if you do not have a bank account in your business name, please confirm the personal name that this account should be measured in. Reason being, we would allow for that person's name to be on the account," she explained. Additionally, Ms. Christopher noted that the name of the person and the banking details provided must be on the trade license. Very important.
Yes.
We might have the banking information might not correspond, but the same name has to be on the trade license. She said, and I quote, "So if you have a trade license, you have to put it, of course, banking information in your name. You can put it in your husband's name or your mother's name. I'm sorry, you cannot put it in your husband's name or your mother's name or your child's name if their names are not on that trade license, Ron."
Indeed, and Jovan, because of the large number of businesses and the recipients, the director also said her department will be distributing the checks in batches. She is therefore asking all persons with outstanding information, such as bank details, to submit the required documents as soon as possible to the Department of Trade to prevent any delays from occurring within the respective batch. Now, additionally, the Trade Department and Director is also informing the public that due to the present nature of COVID-19, as we all understand, her department is creating a system that would allow persons to safely collect their payments. This, of course, includes the circulation of checks to persons residing on the sister islands who will not be required to come to Tortola to collect their payment. She said, and I quote, "Every business owner who receives a grant award, your check will be sent over to the respective island, and then you will decide when it is appropriate for you to go to your personal business or do the transaction. However, you will not receive a check if you do not confirm your banking details." Now, for business recipients on the main island of Tortola, Christopher said more information will be forthcoming on how they can collect their payments. Jovan, let me just first say that it's been a long time coming for a lot of business owners here in the territory, but I must give kudos to, first and foremost, the Trade Department. Under the leadership of Mrs. Kyria Christopher, they have had a very tall order in just balancing and adopting to the new system. And I must say they've been doing a tremendous job in trying to organize and strategically inform persons. A lot of business owners, as she has said in her statements, they might have received emails or calls at very inappropriate times, and emails were sent, and persons wanted to know is this valid? Is this a fake email? Is it fraud? But nevertheless, it's as a result of the fact that they're really essentially trying to disperse and get this information received to their department so that they can disperse the contact information and, of course, the checks that business owners across the territory have been so in need of. One of the things that I want us to particularly look at is when we look at the breakdown given by the Honorable Premier and Minister of Finance as it pertains to businesses and persons receiving financing from the business community, we really get an understanding of where the meat of the matter or the bread of the butter is really. And again, we see where the capital of the BVI, as it's no surprise, is really pulling in large amounts. We have a lot of businesses within the capital, close proximity, the 6th district, and of course the 3rd district and the 5th district, where there are a lot of businesses, and I think business owners, again, as we conclude this story, they're just essentially grateful, and I know they're looking forward to receiving some level of assistance. The amounts have not been received. The specific amounts to each business have not been disclosed. The names of businesses have not been disclosed, which we appreciate for security reasons.
Yes.
That is based on the information that persons entered into the database based on their income and all that stuff, and it's a percentage from what we understand that they will be receiving. So we want to wish our business owners all across the territory the utmost best, and we thank the government of the Virgin Islands for this endeavor, particularly not only the Junior Minister of Trade, the Honorable Premier, but particularly the Trade Department, and of course we have to remember the IT professionals. We have to look at the persons who have continued to make this possible. During COVID-19, Jovan, there are a lot of persons who worked behind the scenes.
Yes,
GIS,
absolutely.
the Government Information Services, they were one of the main ones, but in this specific instance, we see where the Do It team, whom the Director of Trade gave a lot of credit to for really assisting in bringing forth this, creating websites and different mechanisms so that persons could reach out. And I know that a lot of Virgin Islanders, they're absolutely grateful.
Absolutely, Ron. You couldn't say it any better. I don't know if there's anything for me to add to that, but I think you really covered on a very wide scope the situation. I know persons are really relieved, Ron. I think we take for granted at times, being that tourism and the financial sector, they are our main pillars, but we kind of underestimate and undervalue the private enterprises that carries our economy, you know, and here we see so many businesses applying, over 1,000 applying, so clearly in dire need for financial support. So really happy that that support is now, of course, able to meet them at their businesses. Still ahead, viewers, we are getting into JetBlue. JetBlue has identified new locations in the Caribbean. Of course, they're spreading their wings even in the midst of COVID-19. So we're going to touch on that before we wrap up. This is 284 News.
So you're saying I can ask this cat any question?
The cat is connected to the computer. You just type in the question, it will read his mind. There the answer comes.
You're the man! I've been looking for this for weeks.
Viewers, welcome back to 284 News. Now, while other airline companies are making positions redundant and mothballing planes, JetBlue is doing the opposite. The company has identified 24 new markets, which it says has the potential to generate cash for its balance sheet. The new markets in focus are 24 in Florida, the Caribbean, as well as Latin America, and cross-country routes which will connect diverse sets of destinations and accelerate the company's cash generation efforts. We know Montego Bay is among the new cities targeted. Latin America, other locations include Cancun, Nassau, Punta Cana, St. Martin, and Liberia. Ron, lots going on in the travel industry. I know we're in a position where we're trying to rebuild travel confidence with persons around the world, especially with us being a tourist destination. But here we see some airlines not necessarily saying, hey, you know, let's drop the ball and you know, basically falling away by the wayside. There's a quote that says, you know, with chaos comes opportunity, and here we see them really capitalizing on that.
Jovan, as you mentioned Punta Cana, I could not, vacation just came to mind. I will be very honest, but we're a long way from there. We continue
Yes.
to wish our brothers and sisters across the region the very best in traveling. Viewers, we're out of time. I'm Ron Grant.
And my name is Javon Wilson. Thank you so much for joining us.